Welcome back to the Growth Hack. I'm your host, Marcus, and today we're tackling one of the biggest debates in digital marketing, Google ads versus social media ads, and which one actually works. Franchise owners and marketers ask this question all the time. Should I invest more in Google search ads or Facebook and Instagram ads? Which platform gives me the best ROI? Do I really need both? Well, today we're breaking it all down, the pros, cons, and how to decide which platform is right for your franchise. Joining me as always is Mckenzie. Mckenzie, are you ready to settle this debate?
This is a really hot topic because business owners want to make sure that every advertising dollar is working just as hard as they are. I think some really swear by Google ads and others live and die by social media ads. But I think it's not one size fits all. Okay, so I think let's just start simple. What is the core difference between Google ads and social media ads?
The core difference for me is really you have paid search, right? Google ads, intent-based marketing. People are searching for what they need right now, not necessarily what they need tomorrow or 7 days from now. It's what they need right now. So if you're in the service industry, right, they're searching for spa or any of those types of things, home services, and you want to be shown in that top ad spot for them to be able to click on that. Now, social media is more disruptive, right? Meaning we're all on Instagram, just scrolling, having fun, and then an ad pops up in your feed as you're scrolling and it disrupts your flow of scroll. And so that is where it's more impression based. And this goes into how you pay for the ads and what they cost and their effectiveness. But Google ads work when someone types like best lash extensions near me or top rated auto repair. They're already looking to buy. You just need to show up at the right time, have great reviews, have a great presence, and an easy booking process. Social media ads, on the other hand, are more about creating demand. Maybe they're thinking about getting their lashes done, or more often than not, you are displaying it to people that you want to win over to your brand, that you want to make them aware that your brand exists. Because sometimes we can't necessarily target who specifically is looking for what. But if I am selling a pet service or pet product, I can target dog owners. I can target people who like brands related to pets or dogs, things in that nature, because then I'm kind of funneling that down to people who likely have dogs and may need the service or product that I'm selling.
Okay, so it seems like Google ads kind of capture that high intent search and social media ads create the demand. But when it comes to the actual conversions, which one do you think works better?
That's a really good question. I think that sometimes it can be dependent on budget, but if you have a local franchise or local business, Google tends to convert higher in the sense of actual booking because you're getting to the people who are actively looking for it. Social media, on the other side, there's this awareness phase. So many people jump into social media and they're like, hey, I'm going to show this. I'm going to select the conversion metric and I'm hoping for 20 purchases today. What you have to realize is that with social media, there's an awareness stage. So you really have to go through this awareness, then visit and education, then conversion phase, because none of the people that you're showing it to likely know anything about your brand. They didn't know you existed yesterday. And you can't just go out in front of them, Marcus, you should buy this today, right? Not to say it never works, but it rarely works. Whereas on Google, you're only showing your ads to people who are actively searching for a service related to yours. So they're closer to the bottom of the funnel than on social. And that doesn't negate the power of social media. It just means you have to have a much longer strategy there. But the real key is retargeting. If you take all that Google traffic, let's say you have 300 clicks, or maybe 30% of those converted. We want to make sure that of the other 270 visitors, we're retargeting on social because now they're aware of your brand. And now you can get back in front of them either with a new offer or just continuing to show them ads day after day.
So, what do you think is the best approach there for the ones that have already interacted once? Do you then change your messaging to, okay, like now they're interested, now do we have to kind of further interest them in the product? How do you change your messaging for that?
When you think about Google search ads, they're text-based in most cases. You can have display, but they're still, at a basis, they're very minimal. Hey, we have auto repair for your Honda. Like it's very straightforward and click. Social makes it more fun. You can now involve, so on that retargeting, you can get far more creative. You can change the messaging about the pain points and the why, and maybe it's cost related, whatever the benefits of your service or product, if it's cost oriented, if it's problem and resolution, all of those things, talking about it. Most times, the most effective thing in retargeting is an offer that is not publicly available on the forefront, meaning you're not running ads on Google saying $30 off your massage appointment. Oftentimes, we never discount on Google for the most part because you're so bottom of the funnel. There's not as much need for that. They already know they want the product. They're just trying to figure out who's the closest, who has the best reviews and the easiest booking process. So it is really rare that we would do that for a client on Google. However, on social, it's the discount world. It is where discounts lead. Now, I don't want to relate it too much to Groupon because that's an entirely different subset of people. But when people see and go to your page and they're like, I do want it, but maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. And then I see another ad on social within seconds later, and it's like, hey, by the way, it acts as like an abandoned cart. Hey, by the way, like if you want, here's a $20 off offer, for your first massage or your nail appointment. And then you're like, you know what? Let me go ahead and do that now. So again, it's that same like e-commerce. When you go, you abandon cart, you get the email and it's like, hey, here's 10% off. Your cart's waiting for you. That same strategy, we're just using it in a digital ad standpoint. But I think so many times people launch Google search ads with a discount and then they ruin their retargeting campaign because now it's like, well, they've seen that. And now on social, you're showing the same thing. So they're not as engaged. They're like, okay, I've already seen that. That's nothing new. Now, if you don't want to run an offer, just run educational things. Continue to educate them on the benefits of whatever that service or product is.
Everybody wants to know cost. Business owners are always asking, which one is cheaper?
The short answer, I think there's a few short answers to this. One is it depends on your industry. Two, it depends on, and this is, kind of goes against what we're talking about, but it can depend on your budget. And it can depend on your strategy. So, industry wise, let's start with Google search. If you are in a super hyper-tuned industry that maybe doesn't have, or maybe it's new and trending, but there's not a ton of search traffic, or you are, in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, right? You can spend dollars there, but you may not be able to spend a ton there to get to the point where if you need 100 conversion, you need 100 sales a month, and saying, hey, I only have so many. I think that's going to be a problem for you to get to that point of like, we can only spend so much. So you're going to have to leverage social to be your primary focus there. On the flip side of that, if you're somewhere where you have a lot of search intent, and there's tools, you can use Google's keyword planner. Go and see how much search volume there is for your product or service before you launch ads. I never recommend that any business owner without expertise in it launch their own Google ads. But if you're going to do it, do some research using keyword planner and see how much search volume is. And that'll tell you how much you can realistically spend there. But most of the time, if you have a good search volume, your conversion is going to be better on Google one-to-one. When we look one-to-one, it's going to be better on Google. They're going to be higher value because they're closer to the bottom of the funnel. On social, you have to now have a budget realistically, if you're doing it right, for an awareness campaign, a middle of the funnel campaign, and then the bottom of the funnel campaign, and then your retargeting campaign. So even if you at a minimum had $7 a day going for those things, you're now spending $40 a day. So that budget excels quickly, but you have to remember at the very top, there's not going to be a direct conversion metric. Not until you get to middle to bottom are you going to start to see like, what is that ROI and what did that cost me all the way through? And so again, that changes by industry, changes by product or service, changes by cost. If you have a high ticket item, that's going to play effect for sure into what platform you go to. If it's lower cost, social may be your bread and butter there.
That makes sense. So, what about lead quality? Would you say that there's a difference between the quality of leads between Google or social media?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we test everything under the sun, but Google definitely drives a higher quality lead. But again, everything goes back to intent. Everything is intent. On social, think about how many times you've opted into something that you're like not really into. Seems cool. I'm just going to opt in because I might want more info. I'm not. It's social media is the platform for people who are afraid to commit. It's full of just uncommittal people like I might want this, but don't really reach out to me. And so we traditionally see that probably almost like 4 to 1, like Google leads as far as response and conversion and all of those types of things. I mean, we'll see that Google leads will convert on average for us 75 to 77% of the time. Lead to booked appointment on social, that's closer to 45%. So again, 45 is still good, but there is a gap because of intent. Now, the volume is far different. Social, for the same budget, social media, we might generate 160 leads, right? Let's just say that in a month. On Google, we might have generated 50, right? So it's very different in volume play because on Google, you have to remember you have competitors. So your ad isn't always showing. It's pay per click. So that's a nice feature to have. But your ad isn't always show. It's based on impression rate and impression share with your competitors. So if you're in a really competitive space like fitness, that's going to play a big part. And if you're in fitness, Google is really hard because of the big players with the big budget. So if you're a franchise owner in the fitness world, it's probably not the place to play as far as traditional search. You could do like Performance Max, which is going to be creative display and Google Maps, all of those things. But a traditional search campaign wouldn't be great for that sector. And you really have to leverage the social media outlets in the fitness world.
Okay, so what's the final answer? If you had to pick one, which one is better?
Honestly, I think the best strategy, which we always kind of preach, is using both together. Google Ads captures high intent buyers at the right moment. Social media ads introduce your brand, generate interest, and retarget those Google searchers later. Honestly, I think most people miss the retargeting side. They pay for everyone's interest and then they have no retargeting and it's just money out the door. And so if you can fix your retargeting, you've won half the battle at that point. But I think there's another note that I want to mention here because I truly believe probably in 3, maybe 4 years, we are going to see a big shift in the Google arena where social, I think, is actually going to potentially become the well because of AI. If you think about it now, and there's some studies that are done, like in 3 to 5 years, I don't know how many people will be searching Google for answers anymore. What there's new studies that show like majority of the younger generation are using Chat GPT, using, the new AI on iPhones to search and leverage that versus using because they can get a summarized report. They no longer have to go to a browser, search and scroll through the monotonous things to figure out who's right. I could pull up GPT right now and say, find me the nearest pizza place with the best reviews in Nashville, Tennessee, and it would give me clear, decisive answer with sources. And so, again, I think that is where we potentially will see a shift away from like what will that search traffic be? And that is where people and even us are starting to plan like, how do we shift now into social media and really focus in and maximize the effectiveness there? And that's why we're seeing Google get into that so much and really start to develop orientation as far as search. Hopefully, Google will create some type of AI search engine and everyone will use that and we'll still be able to market there. But we naturally have to evolve with time and all of those types of things.
That's really interesting. I feel like we could have an entire conversation on just that. We're going to have to make a note of that. We'll dive into that deeper. But I think this has been such a great breakdown today. If there was one big takeaway for business owners, what would it be?
Probably don't think of Google ads and social media ads as an either or. Google gets them when they're looking, social media keeps them engaged until they buy. The best marketing strategy combines both.
Okay. Love that. If you're running ads right now or thinking about it, look at your strategy and ask, am I capturing search intent with Google Ads? Am I staying in front of leads with social media retargeting? Am I testing enough to see what really works? If you're not sure, it's time to optimize, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that is at the core of everything. You should consistently have something running on every platform day in and day out, and you should be optimizing and testing that. Don't just set it and forget it. You need to optimize that and test it throughout, but stay in front of the consumer until the consumer is ready to buy so that you're front of mind. And thanks for tuning in to the Growth Hack Franchise Marketing Unleashed. If you found this helpful, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow franchise owners. New episodes drop every Monday, and we'll see you next time.